So I'll just share a little bit about my journey. I grew up in Kenya, and just like a lot of Kenyans, we all love animals, and at that time there was obviously a lot of poaching going on. So we're all very concerned about what's happening to the elephants and the lions. And the other thing we saw in Kenya was a lot of poverty as well. There were lots of poor people who were just struggling to get enough food. There was a lot of glue sniffing going on amongst the street kids. So I kind of felt that I should be doing something that's helping both people and animals. I know we're all animals, but just some way of helping other beings. Okay? Admittedly, before I heard about what was happening on dairy farms and egg farms, and even though I knew that meat wasn't right, I did eat meat. Again, I regret it. But this was during my time in university. Okay? But what I did, I used to try and give money to charities and try and help in that way. We used to do food collection, clothes collection, give it to poor people in Sudan. And then I moved here, and I studied industry. And about 5 years ago, there was a Chandana function going on at our leisure center. And Sagar was giving a talk about what happens to cows in India. And he showed us a video. And Peter, one of the organizations, made this video about what happens in India to cows. And I thought, India was a place where all the cows were respected and looked after, but what I saw was absolutely shocking. And if this happens in India, worse things happen everywhere else. Okay? And that day, I just, I couldn't have milk anymore. But then I still thought eggs was okay because they're non-fertilized, there's no babies in those eggs. But then I found out how all the male newborns are killed because they're no longer used, and how all the mothers and daughters are enslaved all their lives. And all of them are killed by enslavement. So that was how my journey started, my vegan journey 5 years ago.
Yeah. So Keval's vegan journey seems to have been driven much more about compassion. For me, it was actually all about the ego. So I was in 2007. I was working in the States, and some of my friends had gone over for a convention in New Jersey. And over there, I saw lots of leaflets about what goes on on dairy farms. And I thought to myself, do you know what? There's lots of vegan food made available. They had vegan options available, all the meals. So I said to my friends that, do you know what? If vegan food is available, I'm gonna have it. Because I was feeling, okay, causing dairy is causing harm to cows. If I can easily avoid it, why I should just take the choice that causes least harm. Later that day, so I was saying this to my friends, and an 11-year-old kid must have overheard me. Later that evening, they had a whole load of pizzas out, and they had vegan pizzas, which they had vegan cheese on them, and they just had regular pizzas. And I didn't, naturally out of habit, I didn't think to go for the vegan ones. I just went for the normal ones because that's what I was used to doing. Sitting there eating them, and that 11-year-old kid that overheard me came up to me and said, "Hey, I thought you said you were going to have vegan food when it was easily available." And I was sitting there. I was president of the Jain Society at university at the time. I was working for a charity later on that summer, an environmental charity. I always felt I did the right thing. I've got good self-control. Yet an 11-year-old kid managed to really burst my ego. And for me, it was like, well, I asked the kid, "What, are you vegan or something?" And he pulled out a leaflet about what happens to cows on dairy farms. And I just thought to myself, right, if this kid can do it, I can do it. So I decided to try a vegan diet from then on. And later that day, later in the convention, I met someone else who followed what's called a raw diet. So he didn't eat any cooked food. And I asked him, isn't this really hard? And he said, no. And I was baffled. And then he told me, look, wherever you go, there's always going to be food available to you. You go out to a restaurant, in order to make vegetarian food, they're going to have fruits and vegetables there. If they don't have fruits and vegetables, well, they're not making fresh food for you, do you actually even want to be eating at a place like that? There's always food available, there's always going to be enough to nourish your body. The question is, how big is your ego? Do you feel that you always need to have really luxurious, rich tasting food at every meal? And I think, one of the things, you take a choice like veganism, it's not always easy. A lot of the time at home it can be very easy. But you go out, and sometimes things, might not always be available that taste the best. You might not, you might have restricted options at a restaurant. You might only have a choice of one meal compared to vegetarians with 3, but non-vegetarians at 10 or something like that. But there's always going to be enough to nourish your body. And it might mean making a couple of sacrifices here and there, but if we can use the Jain principles, help get control over our egos, it's a step we can do to make the right choice both for ourselves and for the other living beings we share the planet with.
And thankfully, I've noticed that a lot of restaurants are now actually getting more and more vegan food because more people are demanding it. Okay? It's becoming easier and easier every day.